Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Desiree Duffy, and I'm the host of the Books That Make You show. And today we're talking about books that make you see a mother's love and embark on a journey of strength and perseverance. Mother and BookFest-award-winning author Christy Texeira's book, Pink Elephants, takes us into the private moments of tenderness, the fragility of childhood innocence, and it's a reminder of the control that we feel that we have over a situation is often an illusion. Pink Elephants is a story of a family pushed to the brink as they face their daughter's rare and life-threatening illness. The family discovered the most essential ingredients in surviving great adversity, and that was their unwavering faith, gratitude for each day, and the power in each family member's inner strength. It is really a remarkable story. Christy, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Desiree. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So, okay, in your own words, can you tell us what happened?
Absolutely. When my daughter was 5 years old, she was diagnosed with a rare bone marrow failure disease called aplastic anemia, which essentially meant that her body had quit producing blood cells of any kind. So while she had blood, it was primarily composed of plasma. It started out with lots of bruising and her being very tired. And when I went to the pediatrician, she said, well, she's not really anemic, but let's keep an eye on it. And Haley had also had asthma and issue problems. And so we went to National Jewish in Denver, and they do blood work every year for asthma and allergies. And I mentioned to the doctor some of the symptoms I was concerned about. And she said, well, we can do more blood work, but if it's not related to my profession, I have to refer you back to the pediatrician. And yeah, fine. That's great. I just don't want my kid poked more than she needs to be. So the blood draw turned into a phone call from the allergist saying it's not emergent, but it is urgent to go back to your pediatrician. And we did. And then 2 hours later, after another blood draw, she said, no, it is urgent. Pack your bags and go to Children's Hospital. We think it's leukemia.
Oh.
And what do? You have to pull it together because your kids are down the hall playing and you don't want to scare and alarm them. And that's what we did. I quickly went to the neighbor's house and said, can they play at your house? I have to pack my bags. And
then you were off.
We were. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to back up just a little bit because there are situations too. She was coming home with bruises from the playground. So you had this, even before they discovered this, and it sounds like they could have nearly missed it. You got a little bit lucky there. So, did you experience one of those situations where you just knew as a mom something was wrong, but then you had teachers saying, oh, she fell down on the playground or whatever? Can you just back up a little bit and tell us some of your thoughts from the very, very beginning?
I did feel like there was something wrong. And I had asked my daughter, what are these bruises from? Is someone at school hurting you? Because they were in weird places on her back and the top of her feet. And she, being 5, she had no idea what I was getting at, but she looked at me like, no, what are you talking about? And I inquired with her kindergarten teacher, and she said, she's tired, but all the kids are. This is their very beginning of kindergarten. They're still getting into a routine. And so I took it at face value. And by the time we got to Christmas break is when we knew we were in for a long haul. So it had been a semester worth of school and things were not improving. And that's why I kept pushing, asking the school and asking the pediatrician and the allergist, like just keep looking because something doesn't feel right. I had no idea that it would be life-threatening. And when I heard leukemia, of course, I was absolutely stunned. I mean, that was not on my radar at all. So
yeah, I can only imagine as a mom, as a grandma, it's like I can just feel what you must have been feeling to a small degree. So, okay, so you take her into the specialist, and what was that process like? Can you tell us about what happened when you took her in?
once we got to the hospital, to that specialist, yes, they ran several tests, more complete blood counts, and Haley all along was asking, why are they doing all of this? And we had to explain your body's like a puzzle and they're trying to figure out all the pieces and put it together. So the more we all cooperate, the more information we get and the sooner we figure out what's going on and can go home. And they said she needed a bone marrow aspirate, which is taking a sample of bone marrow out of her hips. And when those results came back, they said it does not look like leukemia anymore. We think it's a rare bone marrow condition, which involves a hematologist, and our head hematologist is on vacation in India for the holiday. She'll be back in a couple of weeks. And this was on Christmas Eve, actually. And we said, well, what do we do now? And they said, we wait. So we got Haley convinced that Santa would, in fact, come to Children's Hospital because it's filled with kids. He's not going to miss anywhere that kids are. And the oncologist came in and said, actually, we can tank her up. We can give her a blood transfusion of platelets and you can leave, but you have to stay in Denver because we live an hour from Children's Hospital. Luckily, my mother lived in Denver, so we went and had Christmas at her house and came back the Monday after Christmas and, just continued the path of discovery because they really didn't know that it was aplastic anemia. So over the next several weeks, they did more bone marrow aspirates, they did more blood transfusions, they did more complete blood counts, and finally determined that, yes, it is aplastic anemia.
How devastating. Now, your book, Pink Elephants, talks about the strength of your family and how you endured. Can you tell us about the effects this was having on not only you, but your entire family?
Yeah, definitely. It was shocking, but my and my husband's main priority was to keep our children as calm as possible and give them the respect they deserve in knowing as much as they were able to process. Haley was 5 and Emily was 2 at the time. And so managing their expectations was really the priority, and making Haley feel confident that this is her body and she has a say in what is going on with it. That was our priority. We had to get ourselves in a headspace of trusting the professionals, but also being advocates for our daughter because neither of us have medical backgrounds. So when we're talking about bone marrow and bone marrow aspirates and blood counts, it was all new to us. So we just had to surrender any sort of control that we had and get down on our knees and say our prayers and trust the doctors and be as strong as we could without totally shutting down emotion. We had to allow ourselves to feel and answer our kids' questions of being scared, but not, it was a tricky balance.
Yeah. What advice or what would you say to any parents that are going through a similar situation?
I would say the most important part is to trust the doctors. And if you don't trust them, then move on. to another set of doctors. There are a lot of professionals to be an advocate for your child and to let your child know that this is their body and they have a say, and explain it in terms that your child can understand. We had told Haley, you can't go to school anymore. This is what we do instead. Just level with them and say your prayers, because you don't have control over the situation. You only have control over how you react to the situation and what's put in front of you. And that's your choice. How you handle each situation, and every day is a new set of choices.
I think that's especially poignant because when we're faced with any kind of adversity where we feel out of control, the one thing that we can't control are the choices that we make in that situation. Mm-hmm. And bravo to you, too, for instilling in Haley the idea that it is her body and she has choices and she has power, because as a child, I can only imagine at that age trying to comprehend what's going on. It must have just been so confusing for her.
It definitely was, but the more information we gave her in digestible bits, the more cooperative she was. So one example was when she went into the hospital she ultimately had a bone marrow transplant. Mm-hmm. And when she went into the hospital for it, all of a sudden they started talking about catheterizing her, and nobody had mentioned that to my husband and I. So we weren't prepared to have prepared Haley for this. And when they started the procedure, she flipped out to the point that, they were trying to give her anti-anxiety drugs and calm her down, and nothing was working. And the head nurse came in and said, stop. And we had explained to Haley, look, if you don't have it, that means you have to go to the bathroom every single hour for 96 hours, because the medicine they're putting in your body is really hard on it, and you can't let it sit in your body. So you have a choice of letting them do this procedure, which is called a catheter, and you won't have to get out of bed and go potty. It's all taken care of for you, or you get woken up every single hour for 96 hours for 4 days. And she said, I'll do that. And I think it bought trust from her, saying, we respect you enough to let you make this decision, but we're also going to hold you accountable for doing it. And she did. And she did it more than 96 times. And, she's a headstrong kid anyway, but to capitalize on that with a 5-year-old was tricky.
Yeah, I can imagine. The name Pink Elephants. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us where that came from?
Yeah. The first time we met the hematologist, we learned not only was she in India for vacation, it was because she was from India. Mm-hmm. And in the Indian culture, elephants are a symbol of hope and good luck, especially if they have their trunks up. So the first time she met Haley, she got down on her level and they were just conversing. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? And Dr. Hayes was her name, and her favorite animal was an elephant, and her favorite color was pink. And she said, the next time you come to see me, I want you to draw me a pink elephant. So Haley did. And just this love of pink elephants started growing between them. And when Dr. Hayes went to India, she brought her back an elephant with her trunk up. And, now Haley has a huge collection of pink elephants with their trunks up. And it was symbolic to me, one, of their bond, and two, of the good fortune of it's a little girl. And, pink, we had just painted Haley's room elephant's ear pink. And the fact that we were in a pack and in a tribe the way elephants exist, and they support each other and they mourn and they celebrate together. And that's ultimately what we ended up doing.
That's beautiful. I love elephants too, by the way. I think they're cool. Just they're one of those animals that just, you're right, they have emotions and they do so many wonderful things. So that is such a cool part of the story. I'm curious, Christy, as you wrote this book, as you put pen to paper and you relived this and you organized your thoughts, what did you discover while writing the book?
Well, we had a sick daughter. The idea of how we handled the situation is really universal. Emotions are universal. Fear and hope and disappointment and love. It became evident that whomever reads this book can plug in their own kind of trauma. You don't have to have a sick child to relate to the messages and the underlying theme in the book. The book is the story of Haley being sick is the vehicle for me to tell this story, but it could be about divorce. It could be about job loss. It could be about death. You plug in your trauma and take what is applicable in your life from the book. So that was a huge lesson for me. I wrote the book, I believe it was 9 years after her transplant. So I had already done a lot of emotional processing. So it wasn't nearly as therapeutic for me as most people thought it would be, but it was eye-opening in the sense that it was really clear I was doing it to help other people and to reiterate the idea that you are stronger than you think you are. You don't get what you want to handle. I am a believer you do get what you can handle.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. Your book is about your situation, and that's where it came out of, but it is applicable in so many different circumstances, and people can use it in so many different ways. It's really wonderful that you gave back, that you used this to help other people. Or you said it was 9 years after, how did you come up with the idea to write the book? Where did that idea germinate from?
That was interesting. When Haley was sick, I used a social media platform called Caring Bridge that just kept family and friends apprised of the progress and what was going on. And they could leave comments, and several of the readers said, "You really should write a book." And I was thinking, have you read what I'm writing? I have a lot going on in life. I'm not writing a book, but the idea the seed germinated, and years later I thought, I have been taking a lot of false stabs at this for about 7 years. I had been. So finally, it coincided with COVID, but not because of COVID. I have been an interior designer, self-employed for 20 years at that point, and it wasn't filling my bucket anymore. So I thought I'd take sort of a sabbatical and write the book, put design on hold, and then I'd get back to design. And it didn't turn out that way. I took a sabbatical, I wrote the book, and when I went back to design, I still didn't miss it. It just wasn't my passion anymore. So I would love to continue writing and sharing messages of hope and perseverance. And so, long answer to your question is, it was at the suggestion of Caring Bridge readers that I write a book. I mean, I have no writing background.
Well, and being a author or a writer by circumstance, that happens a lot. And I guess that's life, right? It just kind of whacks you around a little bit, and you end up down this path that you didn't imagine, but that's part of the beauty of it.
I agree. I knew I needed to do something in a creative vein, and writing has turned out to be that for me. I really enjoyed the process of writing and want to continue doing that. So it was kind of a means to an end, if you will.
Yeah. So what is the reaction, or has been the reaction among your community, among your friends, supporters, family, everybody? What are they saying about it?
It's been a really positive reaction. Of course, it's emotional for people to read. I mean, it's definitely an emotional ask, but people have really loved the relatability of it. Again, whether or not they've been in that situation or even have children, people who know me say, oh, I completely heard your voice. I know that the things you said in there were exactly how you said them in person. Several strangers have written reviews or emailed and reached out and said, thank you for sharing that, because I have been dealing with a different medical issue and have felt alone for all of these years. And in reading your story, I could relate in a lot of different ways. So it was very rewarding to know that what I set out to do in helping people, that I was accomplishing that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've alluded to that this writing path, this unexpected journey, is something that you're really gravitating towards. So does that mean that you're writing more books, or creatively, what else is on the horizon for you?
I am exploring a couple different things, have irons in a couple different fires. One of them is a children's book. I am a Colorado native. I love the outdoors, hiking and downhill skiing, and would love to make a children's book about nature and make it learning, but also fun enough that a child would want to read it or have it read to them. I am also toying with a novel that, again, I thought would maybe be a memoir, but I think I'll use true events as the launching pad for a novel, again, about family, about forgiveness, alcoholism. So any ideas I have for writing always come back to a central idea of helping others and relating, being able to relate to others. So I want to use whatever life experiences I have to do that.
That's wonderful, the way that you're giving back like that. That's so very commendable. All right. Here's a question, and I'm going to give you the caveat, Christy, that you can't answer with the name Oprah. You can't say it's Oprah.
Okay, got it.
It's one of my fun questions that I like to ask. If you could hand your book to anybody in the world right now with the guarantee that they would read it, who would you hand your book to?
Oh, that's a really good one. There are a couple of people I would love to hand it to. I mean, of course, there are famous people. I really want to hand it to somebody a movie producer, I guess, would be. I would love to see it turned into a movie so that people can see it play out and see the idea that you don't have control over anything, but you do have a choice in how to handle things in life, because I think that is an important idea in life. So I don't know if it would be a Steven Spielberg, or I don't know. I'm not very well versed in movie producers, but I would love to see it in the hands of a scriptwriter, movie producer, and have it take off in that direction.
Yeah, it would make a brilliant story in that capacity. And the nice thing too is a lot of the streaming channels are producing content like that more so than ever before.
Yeah.
Your Hulu and your Netflix and all of these different places that it could potentially be.
Totally.
All right. So tell us where people can find out more about you online. You mentioned social media, your website. Where can they go to find you?
So my website is pinkelephants.book.com. And I am on Instagram at Christy Texeira Author. The same with Facebook, Christy Texeira Author. I do a weekly blog that people can sign up through on my website. There is a blog subscription. It goes out weekly, and they're very short 3-paragraph segments that are about life, about being human, communication, love, gratitude. So those are really my big ways they can get the book online at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million. There's a few local stores here in Fort Collins, Colorado that have it, but for the general masses, it's an online thing at this point.
Sure. And one more question. So your book is a BookFest-award-winner.
Yes.
And it was one of the books that was featured up on the NASDAQ board in Times Square.
Mm-hmm.
What did that feel like when you were able to see that? To see
oh my gosh, it felt surreal for a long time, for at least a week. It didn't hit me until I self-published my book. And so my project manager who was working with me, she put together a video on Instagram and Facebook. And that's when the tears really started rolling, that it was real and it was out there. And it was just a thrill to see. New York is to authors what LA is to screen actors. So it was a huge boost of confidence. It was really neat to meet some of the other authors that were there. It's definitely a sense of pride to say that I'm a BookFest winner.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very neat experience. Kind of hard to describe experience.
Right. Wonderful. Well, Christy, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story. It's beautiful and it's poignant and it's so inspiring. And I love the title, and congratulations on your win. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good day, and hopefully we'll see you back here another time for another book.
Absolutely. We'll have you come back on the show when we have that next book.
I would love that. Here is, for those of you wanting to know, it is. This is
much better than the sketch we have in the background.
I think the sketch is beautiful. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for being with us here today on the Books That Make You show as well. You can find out more about us on our website. That is booksthatmakeyou.com. We are on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. And Books That Make You is a very proud sponsor of the BookFest. Make sure you check out the BookFest. It happens every spring and fall, and you can find out more information on that free to attend online streaming event at thebookfest.com. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.